I want to bring in now Michael Collins. He is the editor-in-chief for the Western Kentucky University Herald. He joins us for more about Kentucky. Michael, you're in Bowling Green. I understand that Bowling Green has been very hard hit. Tell us, first of all, just what the experience was like overnight when the tornadoes started touching down.
So I can tell you that there weren't many people around town who got a good night's sleep, myself included. I was texting people up until early morning. The storm was bad for hours and hours. Around 5:30, I would say, the storm started letting up. And from then, I went to the bypass here in Bowling Green, which is only about a mile and a half from my home. Cleanup crews and emergency services were just then getting to the area. Not much had been done in terms of clearing the roads, and it was still very difficult to get around. The first thing you notice when you get down there is buildings just leveled. And then across the street from them, buildings that seem almost fine. What's clear is there's been immense amounts of damage. A lot of people's livelihoods were lost last night, and that's a really hard thing to come to terms with.
Yeah. We see some of the photos. It appears those are photos that you took. Tell us more about the extent of the damage that you saw.
So the damage that I saw focused mainly on that bypass stretch of about 2 or 3 miles. Up and down there, it was hard to tell what would be damaged and what wouldn't. A lot of the neighborhoods in that area were damaged as well. I saw houses with entire sides of the house torn off of them, massive trees down, electricity poles down all over town, lots of high water in areas you can't really access anymore. In one instance, in the case of WK Liquors, which is a pretty common location around Western Kentucky University, almost completely leveled. The only thing that was left there was one wall and some of the products that were kind of littered around. The owner was there when I showed up, and he was trying to salvage what he could at the time.
Tell us more about that. Tell us more about the people that you encountered and what folks need there right now.
Everyone is just shocked, myself included. I've lived here for 3 years and never could I have even begun to picture something like this. The tornado that touched down here touched down almost in the middle of town, the worst possible place it could touch down. A lot of people were kind of roaming the streets, same as me, just kind of seeing what was happening, trying to be safe, and they were just as shocked. We ran into the owner of Grandma's Attic, which is an antique store here in Bowling Green, and they were just distraught. A lot of their products have been damaged. Their windows were all smashed in. It's hard to come to terms with it, and it's something that we were aware of these storms coming, but I'm not sure anyone could have really prepared for the scope of how this was going to hit Bowling Green.
Yeah. We spoke with the mayor of Bowling Green earlier, and he told me that search and recovery efforts are underway, not search and rescue efforts. That's always a bad sign. What more do you know about these recovery efforts?
Not much. From what I've heard from emergency services, police, and fire department, they are basically all units out. It's been difficult getting in touch with them all day because almost every part of Warren County, where Bowling Green is, almost every part of Warren County has been hit to some extent, whether it be small or large. Emergency services are spread very thin right now. Overall, it's a situation that's hopefully getting better as we kind of come to terms with it, but there's a long way to go, and the damage from this is going to be felt for a very long time, I think.
You know, Michael, you said that you knew that the storms were coming. You were given warning, but you couldn't comprehend what happened, this devastation that we see on our screen right now as a result of it. Did you feel like you were getting adequate time to prepare, or that the warnings were sufficient?
I think personally, I've lived in Kentucky all my life, and even if I have tornado warnings near me, my first instinct isn't to, hunker down and everything unless it's specifically close. I think we got warning. A lot of people were talking about how bad these storms could be. And I think the defining factor of what made this so devastating is, one, it happened at night. I believe tornadoes in general, when they happen at night, tend to have a greater number of fatalities. And two, because of how close it touched down to the middle of town, it was only about a mile and a half away from downtown Bowling Green, and it narrowly missed parts of there. touching down in such a concentrated and urban area is just devastating, and it's definitely hurt a lot of people's homes and businesses around here.
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, and we're used to getting tornado warnings, but we don't necessarily expect that level of devastation. I'm wondering, Michael, if you can tell us anything more about the concern about fatalities in the area.
The announcement we got from Western Kentucky University earlier initially stated that they believed a student had passed away last night. Warren County Sheriff's Department has come forward and said that that's likely a relative of that student. We've had trickling in reports of fatalities, but nothing concrete yet. Like I said, emergency services and police services are hard to get a hold of right now. They're all very tied up. As you said earlier, Bashir's numbers for the state say upwards of 70, possibly close to 100, which is just a devastating loss of life for the entire state.
Yeah, it's unfathomable. Michael Collins from the Western Kentucky University Herald, really appreciate you spending some time telling us about what you see there.